everyone, and welcome to another edition of Community Works. I'm Bernadette Welsh, your host. All of our shows focus on local nonprofit agencies in the state of Connecticut. Our goal is to educate our viewers about the great work that's going on all around us every day by local agencies and their supporters. When people help their neighbors, everybody benefits. The focus of today's show is the cleanliness and vitality of our environment. Back in the day, people used to think that the air and the water was just such unlimited space, that you could put anything in it and know it would be all right. It would be absorbed into the environment. Or people thought that economic and employment issues were more important than the environment. We know better now. So, here today to talk to us about these important issues are my guests, Laura McMahon and Bill Lucy from the Connecticut Foundation to Save the Environment? No. Save the Sound, ladies and gentlemen. This is all about Save the Sound. Yes. So, Laura, welcome to the show. Bill, welcome.
Thank you.
Laura, could you tell the folks a little bit about yourself, how you got started with Save the Sound?
Sure. Yeah, so I actually grew up far from the Sound. I grew up in Virginia. Came up here for college and got really interested in how the issues that I saw in Virginia with, farms and cattle letting bacteria into the rivers, which then traveled into the Chesapeake Bay, were really echoed with some of the issues I was seeing in Connecticut and on the Sound.
Okay.
So I started volunteering actually at Save the Sound in about 2007. And from there, started doing all kinds of jobs in outreach and communications, and eventually I became the communications director.
And okay, Bill, now it's your turn. Could you tell everybody how you came to be at the Save the Sound organization?
It's a little roundabout story, but I grew up in Connecticut, down in Wilton, and so I spent a lot of my youth catching snappers and playing in Long Island Sound, Calf Pasture Beach, Norwalk, Sherwood Island, Westport, camping out with Boy Scouts. And I left Wilton to go to college around 1987, and that was a really bad year for Long Island Sound. That's when it died, essentially, especially the western end, the Narrows. So I kind of left the Sound in my rear view mirror and went north to Vermont and then down to Central America working in fisheries. I got a degree in fisheries, and then up to Alaska, where I worked as a commercial fisherman and as a fisheries biologist for about 20 years.
Wow.
And then over to Hawaii to work for University of Hawaii. And throughout the time, I kept my eye on the Sound, and things were getting better. My predecessor, Terry Backer, who was a soundkeeper for many years, really initiated some groundbreaking actions to clean up Long Island Sound. So I felt, I'm from the area, I have a lot of family and friends here, and I've been gone for 30 years. It's time to come home and lend a hand to cleaning up the Sound.
Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that the organization is happy to have you too. You obviously have the right heart and the right credentials to help do the job. So that's great. So now that the folks know a little bit about you, Laura, I'd like you to tell our viewers a little bit about the organization, what it does, and maybe a little bit of the history. Could you do that for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so Connecticut Fund for the Environment Save the Sound has been around since the 70s. And really our mission is to protect and restore the lands, the air, the water of Connecticut, and the whole Long Island Sound region. And what makes us sort of unique in that space is that we're able to bring together working in the legal sphere. We have attorneys on staff, working in the policy and advocacy sphere. So both we have people who lobby up at the legislature, and we have communications and organizer folks like me who let ordinary people know what's going on with laws and how they can speak up about them. And then we have scientists, like some of the folks Bill works with directly, who are really testing water quality and analyzing it. And we also then have engineers on staff whose job it is to take down dams that are no longer needed or build rain gardens that can help filter stormwater and keep Long Island Sound clean.
Wonderful. That's amazing. So you've got all kinds of people with all kinds of different expertise, all with the goal of saving the sound and making it healthy and keeping it healthy, I should say. So now maybe you could tell me a little bit about a specific program or two that you alluded to in your previous statement.
Sure.
So I think there's something in here about Waterkeeper Alliance and a water quality project, so maybe you could tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, well, I'll let Bill talk about the Waterkeeper Alliance.
Okay.
Well, the Waterkeepers are, it's an international organization. They're headquartered in Manhattan, and there's over 200 waterkeepers in countries far-ranging as Australia, Iraq, Russia, and South America, Colombia. So there's a lot of compadres, if you would say, out there working on keeping their own particular backyards clean, their own water clean. So as a sound keeper, I am part of Save the Sound, but I'm also a member of the Waterkeeper Alliance.
Aha.
And my job is to look at Long Island Sound and the rivers flowing into it. So the way we do that is I have a boat.
We're going to talk about the boat later.
Talk about the boat in a little while. And I patrol the Sound, and we have a number of community watchdogs that if they see a problem, they see a fish kill, or they smell sewage on a beach, they can call us, call me, and we have water testing capability. We'll go out, we'll test the water, we'll see what the results are, and then we'll contact the proper people to get it fixed.
Wow.
So that's a lot of what I do. There's also policy issues. I have a fisheries background. So one of the big issues coming up is the Manhattan Amendment, which is basically, there's commercial fishery for Manhattan. They remove millions of pounds of Manhattan every year. It's used for fish oil, fish meal, bait fish.
So Manhattan is a kind of fish?
Yeah, we call them bunker in Connecticut.
Oh, because I've not heard that.
It's the number one. It's a relative of the herring. So it's the base of the food chain.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of politics surrounding that. There's a lot of concern. The striped bass fishermen want them for the striped bass, and some commercial people want them for nutritional supplements or animal feed. So I also get involved in policy with fisheries.
Interesting.
So water quality, fisheries, anything dealing with the Sound.
Excellent. Okay, so that talks about that program. So Laura, what program would you like to tell us about?
Sure. Well,
I know. How about the Green Project or Habitat Restoration?
You beat me to it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. That's exactly what I want to talk about. Yeah, I mean, so a sort of a common thread between Bill's work and our Green Projects team and a lot of our other projects is that people seek to protect what they feel a personal connection to, and the best way to do that is to get people directly involved in, even if it's just a very small thing to start, but directly involved in fixing one little piece of something. So one way people are doing that is looking out for sewage spills and calling Bill about them. And another way we're doing it is our Green Projects team specializes in identifying real on-the-ground concrete projects. So removing a dam, for instance, that no longer serves a purpose to benefit humans, an old mill dam, for instance, that no longer benefits humans and is impeding passage up the river for migratory fish. They can't get up to spawn, which is really, it's an issue for I don't know if it's specifically an issue for menhaden, but it is an issue for lots of herring species. So our team identifies some of those dams and has engineers on staff that think about ways to either physically remove them or to construct sort of a passageway around or over them
so that
for fish.
Like that some kind of ladder or a passageway.
A fish ladder or an eel elevator is my favorite.
Ew, an eel elevator.
It's like a conveyor belt that sort of
carries them up. Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah, and so they do these very concrete projects that are visible in the community, and what's great about that is people see them and then start to understand the interconnected issues around the water quality, around around migratory fish,
Yes.
around increased intensity of storms, even that can threaten to burst dams.
Yes.
And then we can get people directly involved themselves by replanting native plants, shrubs,
Sure.
flowering plants along the restored riverbank. So it stops erosion there,
Yes.
it provides food sources for birds, it shades the river, which the fish often prefer.
Cooler water than the warmer water.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly, yeah.
Yes.
And as well, it tends to filter the water that flows down riverbanks. It helps keep pollutants out of the rivers even. So it really brings it all together, and we're excited when we can get people out physically digging on the riverbank to put in a new little shrub, and they can come back and visit it the next year and really build that connection.
I think you're right. I think people want to see visible changes and improvements. They get excited when they know they've done something and they can see it.
Yeah.
So I could really appreciate that. It's just the same thing as walking along the beach and not wanting to cut your foot on glass.
Right.
Or, something like that, or encouraging people to clean up after themselves when they leave the beach area or a picnic area. It really, I think that it has shifted. Public opinion has shifted from when I was a little girl, where people didn't seem to care that much, to where people really are caring more now because they see the damage that can be done, or they themselves get hurt. Or they get sick because the environment is not what it should be. Yeah. So this is all really, really good stuff. Okay, so now I want to get back to asking you a question, Bill. So you are the new soundkeeper. What's the best part of your job? And I think you were talking about why it was so important, but what's a day in the life of Bill Lucy out on his boat? What are you doing out there, Bill?
Okay, I'll do a song. I get the cane and the top hat. Every day has been different.
Okay.
Last week I left Connecticut early and jumped on the Hudson River Keeper's boat in Brooklyn, and we drove up the East River through Hell's Gate, all the way up the Harlem River. Had to wait for the drawbridge to open, and then out into the Hudson. And we were taking water samples all the way and learning from a very experienced river keeper. John is his name. And then I had to get in my car and drive all the way up to Old Lyme at the other end of the state and give testimony on the Manhattan plan. That is a public comment, and there was quite a few people in there supporting the Manhattan. That was a rather long day. Let's see, this week on Monday, I met one of our water quality technicians at the office in Mamaroneck, New York, and we went and got in our 17-foot whaler and went across the Sound to Little Neck Bay, where we took a lot of nutrient samples. We're monitoring nitrogen in an effort to reduce the nitrogen loading in Long Island Sound, which causes the algal blooms, which causes all the hypoxia if you have too many plants.
Death, causes death and destruction.
Death and destruction. And we also have temperature loggers, or not temperature loggers, dissolved oxygen loggers to measure that hypoxia, that measure every 15 minutes, 7 days a week, 24 hours a day.
Wow.
So this is a new part of our program, and it's really showing the cycles of oxygen, and when it gets down below 2 milligrams per liter is the technical term for hypoxia.
Okay.
That's when you have fish and crabs starting to gasp for air, or the microphone gasping for air. That's what was going on this week. Water quality testing, and we have sewage reports that we respond to. I don't know if you want me to get into that now.
Well, no, actually what I'd like to do is, you're talking about being on other boats. Wouldn't you rather be on your boat?
Yes.
Yes. So I understand you were given a boat.
Yes, we received a donation before I left Hawaii, where I was working to take this job.
Yes.
And there was hope that the 1995 two-stroke engine on the back was going to be functioning. And a lot of people put a lot of work into it. I got here and spent 2 weeks trying to get everything going. We had the launch event. We had federal and state legislative people here. and we had other water keepers and a lot of people there to watch this launch event. And we got in the sling, and the boat went down. It was christened by Terry Backer's sister. The boat's called the Terry Backer.
Yes, the old sound.
And we fired it up, and the old two-stroke engine fired right up, and a big cloud of smoke into the whole crowd, and I backed it out, put it into the slip, and it would not start again.
Wow. So now I think we're going to have a special thing to help you, aren't we? So maybe we could put a slide up for our viewers to see how we are going to, there it is. So
there we go.
So here we go, and Bill's going to hold out the cap there because we're out there, folks. And I think what Bill's trying to tell us is that we need to save Bill's boat. So donate at bit.ly, fix Bill's boat, because we have to have our own boat. So talk more about what needs to be, how much money needs to be raised. What do you really need to do?
We need a new engine, which will cost anywhere from $17,000 to $20,000.
All right.
We need a new fuel tank that's in the boat. Is contaminated. It's a custom-made tank, needs to be made in Florida and shipped up.
Okay.
We have it jerry-rigged. We have something that'll work now if we do get a new engine.
Okay.
Other than that, the boat's ready to go. It's a 21-foot Mako.
Okay.
It can go anywhere on Long Island Sound. I'd be confident of that. I've fished in the Gulf of Alaska with a 20-foot skiff.
Okay.
I can't go out in the middle of a storm, obviously, but it can handle
normal,
some water.
Normal weather, yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit of rain, maybe.
Yeah. No cabin or anything, but yeah. So that's the plan: is to take that boat. There's 600 miles of coastline if you count all the bays and harbors, and you count the south side of Long Island and the coast of Connecticut. So my plan is to take this boat and travel every square mile of that.
Good for you.
And really check it out. And I'll be looking for places to stay along the way.
Okay.
So as I find different ports of call, I'll be asking people if they've got a bed and breakfast or an extra room, and that way I get to know the community and learn who's interested about protecting their harbor or their bay or their particular piece of beach.
Yeah, and Laura will help you spread the word out and get people. Bill's looking for some hospitality.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. Again, trying to get the people along the Sound involved in monitoring it and improving it and keeping it good for everybody. Yeah. So that's very interesting. Okay, so folks, we're going to donate and we're going to help Bill fix his boat. And we have a ways to go.
It just started. So
it just started, okay. So this is on Facebook, I gather?
Yep,
is this on Facebook?
It's a GoFundMe campaign, so you can find it on our Facebook page.
Okay.
Save the Sound Facebook page. And you can also just go to our website, savethesound.org, and you can find it through that as well.
Okay, good, because you know what? Guess what I was going to talk about? So now we're going to talk about, other than funding Bill's boat, which is very important, how do folks go to the website, learn more about you? How is Save the Sound funded?
Sure. Yeah, so what, again, our website is savethesound.org if anyone wants to go look. And our funding is as diverse as our programs are. So a lot of what we do is really funded by our members. Membership starts at $25 a year, so it's very affordable.
$25 a year makes you a member? I will sign me up.
Great.
I could do that.
All right.
But folks can find that on the website.
Good.
And membership means, among other things, that you can come to our annual meeting, which we will just had. Our speaker this year is Gina McCarthy, the former administrator of the EPA.
Okay, yes.
Wonderful speaker. So too late to see her speak this year, but we have wonderful speakers every year for members.
Okay, for members.
And so membership is a critical way we're funded. We also get foundation grants.
Okay, like from the Community Foundation or other folks like that?
Exactly, yeah. So some local community foundations, some family foundations who have been very generous for years and really interested in building a legacy of environmental protection.
Yes.
And even some sort of national level foundations for climate work and some of our other projects.
Okay.
And then sort of the third third leg of the stool. I was about to say third leg of the wheel. It's the wrong metaphor. Third leg of the stool there is government grants, which sometimes support our green projects work. So like the dam removals.
Right,
and
right. That was a
thing.
specific grant that was made for that.
Yes,
Yeah, makes
yes,
sense.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Exactly, exactly.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so everybody is going to go to the website, which is www.savethesound.org.
Yes.
Not
Very
.com,
good.
.org.
Exactly.
And they're going to learn, and I know I went to the website and I learned an awful lot in preparing for the show, learned about it. And there you see it on the screen. There's
there we
Bill's name and Laura's name, but the all-important website and the phone number. So Bill, you were telling it if people see something that they don't like, they can call and they can report it. That's all good stuff, all good stuff. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about is, we kind of talked around it, but what could a volunteer do? So obviously I could give money, I could become a member, and I could give that way. But what if I just want to volunteer? So Laura, Bill, well, Bill, let's talk about what kind of volunteers you would like.
So we have a program called the United Water Study, and it is funded by the EPA through the Long Island Sound Study. We have 12 or 13 citizen groups, and we provide them with some fairly sophisticated water quality testing equipment, but we provide training on how to use it.
Oh, okay.
And people are located in different areas, and they will do their own water sampling, and then we will collect that data and put it into our annual report. So next year, Peter Linderoff is our director of this program, the water quality program. He's a lead scientist. He hopes to double that, is my understanding. So we're looking for another 12 or 13 groups to participate with.
And all volunteers.
They're all volunteer, they're citizen scientists, and we would like to get them all over the Sound. We would like to eventually, this is a long-range vision,
Right.
is to have all the bays and harbors represented by a community group that stewards their own bay and harbor or piece of shoreline, but we're collecting the data as one.
Yeah.
So it's all comparable, it's all high-quality data, and we can really take the pulse of the health of the Sound. So that's a great way to volunteer. Beach cleanups. How many
Yes,
beach cleanups do we have?
Yeah, beach cleanups.
We had scheduled, I believe the final total was, I forget if it was 49 or 51. It was right on one side or the other of 50. But yeah, in late September every year is, mid or late September, is the International Coastal Cleanup Day.
Aha.
And it's an international event. It was started by OSHA Conservancy over 3 decades ago, but we've been the Connecticut coordinator of it for the last 15 years.
Okay.
And it's our biggest volunteer event every year. And what's great about it is it's hyper local.
For sure, right?
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
you're right there.
Yeah, virtually every beach on the Connecticut shoreline. There's another group that does them in New York. They happen in New York as well, and yeah, we have sort of veteran cleanup captains who come back every year and say, all right, I'm willing again to be the steward for the health and cleanliness and safety of my beach, and they get out local supporters, and we have all kinds of partners. There was a cleanup with a Cub Scout troop this year.
Yeah, I was just going to say Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts,
Cub Scouts.
We had a fraternity show up from
really?
East Haven.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's really good.
Public health and Patagonia and all kinds of groups.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a wonderful event. We have a couple more into October, so people can also find those on the calendar section of our website.
Excellent.
Yeah,
That's
and
excellent.
then the sort of other ways people can volunteer is you can join in habitat restoration plantings to restore those
Right, we were
riverbanks.
talking about that before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll have more of that happening in the spring probably. And even if you can't or don't want to get out and get your hands dirty that way, you can also make a pretty big difference volunteering as an activist. So we have
Sure. Yeah.
we need people to be calling calling the governor, calling their state senators, calling their congressmen, all of these folks, and as saying, please vote for this bill, please vote against that bill. Are you aware of this problem?
Or let me educate you as to why we feel you should think that way, rather than really even just telling them what to do.
Exactly.
It's education. Isn't it all about education?
Yeah,
it really is.
It
really is. And I think that's what Save the Sound has done such a good job of, is education. And we're helping with this program right here. Well, we're coming towards the end of our program, so I don't want to say goodbye to folks until I ask Bill, maybe you could talk about a success story, something that has happened. I know maybe not under your watch because you're fairly new, but could you tell somebody, our viewers, something good about what can be done?
Well, I can talk about two that happened under my watch just in the last couple of months.
Really? Great.
There was a high level of bacteria coming out of a pipe in Mamaroneck, and it was reported. And we just learned this week that it's been fixed and the problem is done.
Amazing.
We had the same issue last week. We had a watchdog in Stamford find a couple of overflow sites that looked pretty bad. We asked another one of our partners, volunteer, to take samples. We ran them through our lab. We have an incubator to tell what kind of bacteria counts there are.
And they were bad.
Yeah. So we contacted the city of Stamford, and they were very proactive. They got their stormwater enforcement person to send a crew out, and they're currently right now looking to find the source of the sewage. It appears that it's sewage coming in and flowing into the Rippewam River, which is unfortunate because the city spent a lot of time and money cleaning up that area, Mill River and the Rippewam area.
And now they're going to have to do some more.
Right, and they have a huge park. The kids are playing down there. But that's what we do. We have a lot of old infrastructure. So these pipes are going to break.
That's a good point.
It's not that anyone's doing anything wrong and we're out there to say, got you.
Yes.
It's just we know the state of Connecticut itself is having financial issues. Different municipalities have different resources they can bring to bear to their water, their sanitation water systems, and they can't always stay on top of it. That's why it's really important as citizens, as part of society, what's wrong with us if we see something bad, to just tell us and we'll get it to the proper people at the city, and most cities will attempt to fix it.
Well, I think that is, again, we're not saying that there are evil people out there that want to pollute the water, but I think that point is well made about pipes being old and breaking. And and they might not be aware of it. This municipality might not be aware of it. So for people to talk about that and tell you guys about it is awesome. I mean, what a great thing to do.
And the quicker that it gets reported, the quicker it gets cleaned up, so you don't have you're not swimming in sewage. Now, all the beaches are tested once a week during the swimming season. There's a law that requires that.
Okay.
So what we do with that data, if you're interested in looking at your own particular area where you swim on Long Island Sound, is my supervisor, Tracy Brown, and she did an amazing job designing soundhealthexplorer.org. What soundhealthexplorer.org is, it's an interactive website that grades your beach.
Okay.
So you can open it up and say, I swim at Pelham Beach up near Guilford. You can click on that and it'll tell you what the bacteria loading has been.
Wow.
Now, all that data is not our data. That's data that's provided to the EPA.
Right.
So it's a database of the EPA that we pull out and put on a website so everyone can see it.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, we are, my friend in the control booth is saying that we are at the end of our program. We'll have to have you back. We'll have to talk about maybe more things. I know there were a few things we wanted to talk about what we didn't get time to do, so we'll maybe have you back. And we'll have to do a report card on Save the Sound. So I want to thank my guests, Laura and Bill from Save the Sound. I want to thank everybody for watching. It's just such a great thing to know that the people in the state of Connecticut have an organization like Save the Sound that's out there actively doing some things for us that's going to make our lives better, the lives of our children and our grandchildren. We really do need clean air and clean water, and we want everybody to be involved in looking for things and reporting things and volunteering, because that's what's going to make our community better. So thanks for watching. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Thank
I'm
you.
Bernadette Welch for Community Works, and I hope to see you again next time, real soon. Thank you.